Hello and welcome to Tuesday Newsday, your #1 resource for the entire week's worth of VR news. This is October 8th, 2019. So before I really get into our first topic today, I just want to bring up something that happened personally for me and the channel this past weekend. To kick off my Twitch, I held a 12-hour stream in VR chat with full body everything. It was an absolute blast. If you either came in to watch or actually came to join me in the world, I just want to say thank you. It was a really amazing first stream, and spending 12 hours straight in VR was interesting as well, so I might make a VOD on that later on. But really, why I'm mentioning it here is because I just want to make more and more VR content in different ways and on different platforms, so if you're interested, go and follow my Twitch. This is a way better way to support me than any sponsored discount codes or sponsored reviews of products. It's just a way for me to make more content and spend more time doing this. Plus, you could expect a stream every Tuesday to go along with Tuesday Newsday. You could hop in chat, we chill, just talk VR, or you can enjoy whatever shenanigans I'm getting myself into in-game. Alright, well, enough with my personal ad. Links are in the pinned comment. Let's get right into the news. So as we all know, the HTC Vive Cosmos has been officially launched. Unfortunately, the reception has been a little dull to say the least. One of the biggest problems has been consistent tracking, or more accurately, the lack of consistent tracking in anything other than bright lighting conditions. In addition, I have personally noticed that the controllers have a hard time maintaining tracking when they are close to each other, or if one controller slightly occludes the other. Fortunately, a beta update has been dropped that has helped with the low lighting tracking issues at least a little bit. From HTC, quote, "If your Cosmos is a bit afraid of the dark, we've pushed some improvements over to the beta branch version 1.0.4. We will be continuously fine-tuning the tracking," end quote. And by the way, the controller battery life. Yeah, people weren't joking. You very well could get less battery out of your Cosmos controllers than the battery life of an Oculus Quest. To get some perspective, I just did a 12-hour VR stream. If I were using the Cosmos, I would have needed to change the batteries in my controllers 6 times. Instead, I charged my knuckles for about 40 minutes right in the middle while I was playing. So look, I still haven't gotten that much time with my Cosmos to really come to a conclusion, but I'm just not liking what I'm seeing, especially since I was very hyped for the Cosmos. I just want the competition. But according to HTC's new CEO, really competing with Oculus in the consumer space is still not what HTC really cares about, just like before. They're focusing on the enterprise market, which makes all this make a little more sense. Quote, "I'm not sure if the target is to beat Oculus," the CEO said. "The market is very large. We are competing with Oculus, but Oculus is its own segment, which is purely gamer and social network. I think the market is very large when you look at the business to business, for example. There's also a lot of opportunity," end quote. And I think that's just very telling at what we actually got out of the Cosmos. Now onto some fun news. You know, I love talking about patents that pop up regarding the VR industry. Of course, these sorts of things could never actually come to market or be a product at all, but you could also be looking at the next big thing. So here a patent from Microsoft, and it's a VR mat with haptic feedback and pressure sensors. Basically using 3 components: an optical sensor, which I'm assuming is a Kinect or something similar, a computer of some type, and the mat itself. A user position would be able to be tracked within the space, as well as the user's body movements themselves, like with full body tracking. We've already seen that the old Kinect can be used for pretty decent full body tracking in current VR applications, which I think is hilarious. If you remember the launch of either the 360 Kinect or the Xbox One Kinect, it was kind of a meme. Terrible support for good titles, buggy tracking, etc. And now, like 5 years later, it's a common thing to buy a secondhand Kinect just to have full body tracking in VR chat. But either way, a Kinect style optical sensor is seen in the patent, but the real magic here is in the floor mat itself. Haptic feedback for your feet. That's right, the floor can vibrate, just don't sit on it for too long. This article talks about how if this is priced correctly, it could turn your home play space into a new kind of locomotion-based VR experience play space, and I'm a little skeptical that the price could ever be right, but you all know I'd sell a kidney for it. I have one left, I think. Meme break! The HTC Vive Cosmos. Now back to the news. Onto other experimental VR stuff, the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology developed some sort of second skin that simulates touch far better than the usual motor haptic feedback that we have now. Basically, it's super thin, stretchy, and filled with a bunch of pneumatic actuators. Yeah, this new skin uses a lot of the same tech that we've seen in other haptic gloves by inflating these tiny channels in order to replicate touch, but this looks a whole lot more compact. Quote, "The next step will be to develop a fully wearable prototype for applications in rehab and virtual and augmented reality. The prototype will be tested in neuroscientific studies where it can be used to stimulate the human body while researchers study dynamic brain activity in magnetic resonance experiments." End quote. Whoa. So it doesn't look like we'll be necessarily getting this in our next VR controllers or gloves, but the idea that this thing is a thing is really cool. And it's actively being developed by scientists and engineers all over the world between gloves and this second skin. Now onto some not so experimental XR technology. Tilt 5, a super amazing AR company that has been developing a system for tabletop games of the future, has crushed their Kickstarter and is now at more than $1 million raised. This is pretty much an augmented reality console that you could play whatever board games you want with your friends in real life, but the game is projected within your glasses display, and the very first thing I imagined was playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic the Gathering with this sort of technology. I can tell for certain I'd be more than ready to duel. But really, one of the best features that I think people are overlooking is never ever losing pieces to a board game like Monopoly. You can't lose them if they're virtual. Go and check out their Kickstarter and find out more information. It's all just really cool stuff. Okay, well, I couldn't talk news without getting into this whole Beaton and side quest debacle. If you have no idea what's going on, Oculus updated their community guidelines for sideloaded content on the Quest to specifically target the following content. Content that appears to be infringed, copied, pirated, or content that contains malicious code, or mods of applications available on or through our platform that appear to infringe on third parties' intellectual property rights, introduce malicious code, give players an unfair advantage, or are otherwise not approved. And doing any of these things could result in your Oculus account being banned, terminated, or suspended. And pretty much the only app on SideQuest to be affected, Beaton, a tool that allows you to play custom tracks in Beat Saber on the Quest like you can on PC, which if it weren't for custom tracks, I'd have even less time in Beat Saber than I already have. It's an incredibly important part of the community and the game for its replay value. But Beaton pulled support for their application after this change in the community guidelines, apparently just to be the good guy. This is all a mixed bag of emotions, and looking at it from all sides doesn't make it any better. I can tell you though, this is absolutely an effort from all parties involved to avoid hefty lawsuits. No one wants the weight of the music industry or RIAA coming down on them. So before you point fingers at Beat Games or Beaton or Oculus or any other party involved, just make sure you know that I'm sure that they're doing this because they don't want to get like screwed over. The good news is that Questlink is almost here, and when it does arrive, modding your Beat Saber maps will be even easier than they were before on the Quest. Not to mention, it will look better. I mean, you don't need a super crazy PC to run Beat Saber. Really, this whole situation just sucks, you know, laws and piracy. By the way, I'm curious if anyone is still interested in the Cosmos, or if you're just gonna look elsewhere. Is the whole idea of the headset kind of tarnished after all this bad press? Either way, that's the week's news, folks. Don't forget to follow my Twitch for the every Tuesday stream. We're gonna have a great time, and I should be streaming more than just Tuesday, but you can know that at the very least, I'll be on every week on this day. At least whenever I get off work, of course. Well, I hope you enjoyed. Like this video if you loved it, subscribe if you want more of this, and hit that freaking bell if you just can't live without it. Much love, Thrill out.